What if I told you that the singer of the second most recorded song in history, one of the most recognized songs in the world, was never paid a dime in royalties for her contribution? I'm going to tell you how that was possible and what happened to her next. Now, you definitely know this song.
Tall and thin and young and lovely, the girl from Ipanema goes walking.
You've probably heard it on an elevator or on an elevator in a movie. In fact, I'm trying to make a list of all the movies it's been in, so if you know one, please leave it in the comments. That's The Girl from Ipanema, written by Antonio Carlos Jobim and Vinicius de Moraes, and made famous by guitarist-songwriter João Gilberto, jazz luminary Stan Getz, and singer Astrid Gilberto. Pardon me if I'm butchering these pronunciations. I did another video about this song, which you can find on my profile, about the actual Girl from Ipanema, but this is a very different story. In 1963, the new bossa nova, a jazz sound from Brazil, was taking the world by storm. João Gilberto and Stan Getz recorded an album of bossa nova songs in New York called Getz Gilberto. In the song, Gilberto sang the lyrics of The Girl from Ipanema in Portuguese, the language of Brazil. But there's some disagreement about what happened next. Someone at the recording thought the song should have some English lyrics as well, so they brought in lyricist Norman Gimbel, but João didn't speak any English. So Astrid, who did, volunteered, and they liked her performance so much, they asked her to sing on another track on the album, Corcovado. Now, Astrid had spent her youth as a musician. She sang in concerts with her husband, but she had never actually recorded a song. She had a very unique voice, not the style that was popular at the time. She had a natural, breathy, gentle delivery, and as soon as everyone involved listened to the recording, they knew for sure they had a hit. And they were right. The Girl from Ipanema was an international sensation, hitting the top 10 across the globe and winning the Grammy for Song of the Year. And here's where sexism and greed start to rear their ugly heads. First, Astrid was only paid the minimum session fee for her work that night, $120. She wasn't even credited as the singer on the album. For comparison, her husband João received $23,000, and Stan Getz is estimated to have received $1 million, which is about $10 million in today's dollars. But it gets worse. I'm going to get some hate for this, particularly from certain white men, but Getz was a renowned bully and misogynist. Nearly everyone who worked with him said so. According to writer Martin Chilton, who I am indebted to for this story, when jazz musician Bob Brookmeyer was told Getz had undergone heart surgery, he answered, "What, did they put one in?" So first Getz claimed it was his idea that Astrid sing on the album, which Astrid, João, and their son Marcelo say is totally untrue, that in fact Astrid volunteered. He said, "She was just a housewife and I put her on the record and that was a lucky break for her." As if he made her into what she was, when she was already a musician and he had nothing to do with her talent or even the choice to put her on the record. And then Getz called the producer to make sure Astrid would not receive a penny of the royalties for that song or any of the others on the album, even though many music historians now say that it was mainly Astrid's singing that catapulted the song into the stratosphere. Okay, but Astrid was now a star around the globe. How bad could that be? Sadly, as her fame rose, things got worse. Her husband João was in the midst of an affair with singer Miúcha, and soon he left her to marry the singer. Astrid was suddenly alone, caring for a small child, and without financial security, so she accepted an offer to tour with Getz at a very low wage, even though reports are that it was her fame that brought in a good portion of the audience. Worse, Getz mistreated her badly, as he was known to do with many of the women in his life. And if that wasn't bad enough, the majority of the Brazilian press turned against her and insinuated that she was the one having an affair with Getz. In fact, it seemed that the Brazilian music industry was trying to punish her for becoming famous outside of Brazil. And as she explains, she had stage fright and she felt vulnerable and abused in the music scene. And of course, the music industry was well known for taking advantage of artists, especially women and people of color, so it shouldn't be a surprise that she was often given terrible contracts, if she was given a contract at all. It's beyond question that the industry made barrels of money off of her talent, and she made very little. She recorded about 10 albums, but her music was regularly repackaged and sold into collections and albums without her receiving any compensation at all. So Astrid stepped away from recording. She only made a few more records after the 1970s. There were some amazing high points. In 1977, she recorded a beautiful duet with one of her favorite artists, trumpeter Chet Baker.
Fly me to the moon and let me play among the stars.
And in 1996, George Michael, who she had never heard of, asked her to record a duet of Desafinado for an AIDS charity record. But as much as the world saw her as an icon, many in her home of Brazil still dismissed her. In the 2016 Rio Olympics opening ceremony, Jobim's grandson performed the song without Astrid, and Gisele Bündchen walked the stage as the Girl from Ipanema. On the wings of that performance, the song hit the top 10 on the world charts again, and again, Astrid didn't receive a dime. In 2002, Astrid mostly retired from performing. She lived in the eastern United States, mostly staying to herself, spending time with family, and spending a lot of her time campaigning against animal cruelty. And just last year, Astrid passed away at the age of 83. We'll never get the chance to see her perform live again, but next time you hear the girl from Ipanema, maybe when you're riding in an elevator, think of the woman who made it famous and became the voice of bossa nova, and go, ah.
And when she passes each round, she passes close.